बेनिफिशियल लग रहा है अप टू 10 to 15 लाख सैलरी एम्प्लॉय, तो उनका रुझान भी शायद इस चीज़ की तरफ थोड़ा कम नहीं होगा इस चीज़ से?
सर अब चाहे ओल्ड में जाओ या नए में जाओ, एनी इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी टेकन फ्रॉम नाउ ऑनवर्ड, यूलिप तो पहले ही टैक्सेबल कर दी थी। अगर आप जो है 2.5 लाख से ज़्यादा की यूलिप लेते हो तो पहले ही टैक्सेबल था। अब आपकी नॉर्मल इंश्योरेंस प्लान जितने भी हैं, अगर उनका इंश्योरेंस प्रीमियम व्हाट यू हैव पेड इन अ ईयर, आइदर द सिंगल पॉलिसी और एग्रीगेट ऑफ इंश्योरेंस प्रीमियम पेड इज मोर देन 5 लाख रुपीज, तो वो आपको जब पैसा मिलेगा तो वो फुली टैक्सेबल होगा, तो 1010D नहीं मिलेगा। तो ये जो रुझान चाहे नई में जाओ चाहे पुरानी में जाओ, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा। बस आपको इंश्योर करना है कि टोटल पॉलिसी का जो प्रीमियम पे करोगे अदर देन यूलिप वो 5 लाख से ज़्यादा नहीं होना चाहिए। दैट प्रोविजन डू नॉट अप्लाई टू दी एग्जिस्टिंग पॉलिसी। हो सकता है जैन साहब ने ऑलरेडी एक पॉलिसी ले रखी हो जिसका ये 25 लाख रुपये प्रीमियम भर रहे हो, तो उसका जब मेच्योरिटी आएगी एंड दैट वॉज नॉट यूलिप प्लान, वो ट्रेडिशनल प्लान था, तो वो जो जब वो मेच्योरिटी उसकी आएगी तो वो 1010D में एकदम है। बट आज के बाद जो नया प्लान लेंगे तो 5 लाख रुपए प्रीमियम से ज़्यादा लेंगे तो जो है उसका 1010D में बेनिफिट नहीं मिलेगा। इट हैज नथिंग टू डू विद ओल्ड रिजीम एंड न्यू रिजीम, तो वैसे ही खत्म हो गया। गवर्नमेंट चाहती ही नहीं है कि लोग इंश्योरेंस प्लान लें। नहीं सर देखिए, एक्चुअली इट इज़ नॉट लाइक दैट। इट इज़ लाइक दैट कि 5 लाख रुपए से ज़्यादा इंश्योरेंस कौन देगा? HNIs देंगे। एंड वो कितने हैं वो? भाई आपने नॉर्मल एक मिडिल क्लास पर्सन इंश्योरेंस प्रीमियम सिर्फ 80C लेने के लिए देता है, और एक रीजनेबल उसके ऊपर इंश्योरेंस कवर जो होता है उसके लिए देता है। 5-5 लाख रुपए से ऊपर का प्रीमियम तो वही होगा ना जो बहुत ही ज़्यादा HNI हो या कोई ऐसी सोफिस्टिकेटेड पोजीशन, तो कह रहे हैं उनको बेनिफिट देंगे। वो तो बेसिकली इन्वेस्टमेंट ही कर रहा है। और जनवरी फरवरी मार्च में जितने हम लोग हैं, हमारे पीछे बैंक वाले ऐसे दौड़ के आते हैं कि ये प्लान आया जी, ये नया प्लान है, ये HDFC का प्लान है, ये कोटेक का प्लान है, ये LIC का प्लान है, तो वो क्या होता है? दिस इज मोर ऑफ ए इन्वेस्टमेंट देन द इंश्योरेंस एक्चुअली। 10 साल का कोई 10% से ज़्यादा हो नहीं सकता, तो 10 साल का प्लान देते हैं और 10 साल बाद कहते हैं कि हम आपको इतना श्योर रिटर्न देंगे। और ये ट्रेडिशनल प्लान है, पहले तो यूलिप बेचते थे और वो 2.5 लाख पे रिस्ट्रिक्ट हो गई यूलिप, तो अब आजकल ट्रेडिशनल प्लान बेचते थे। अब उन्होंने ट्रेडिशनल प्लान भी रिस्ट्रिक्ट कर दिया कि 5 लाख से ज़्यादा आप लो। किसने मना किया? दूसरा, मैं ये नहीं मानता कि गवर्नमेंट जो है सेविंग्स पर कहीं पे कोई फर्क पड़ेगा। न्यू रिजीम में बहुत सारे ये कंसर्न्स आ रहे हैं कि सेविंग्स में 80C बंद हो जाएगी, ये बंद हो जाएगा, वो बंद हो जाएगा। आई डू नॉट बिलीव सो। इट इज़ एब्सोल्युटली बेनिफिशियल फॉर HNIs टू गो फॉर न्यू रिजीम, बिकॉज आज मैं हूँ, अगर मेरी इनकम 15 लाख से ज़्यादा है तो मैं 1.5 लाख रुपये PPF में डालूंगा ही डालूंगा। आई एम गेटिंग 7.5% रिटर्न इन PPF टैक्स फ्री। उसको अगर मैं 30% से क्रॉसअप करता हूँ तो 10% रिटर्न आ जाती है। सिमिलरली सुकन्या स्कीम है या जो भी स्कीम है जहाँ पे टैक्स फ्री रिटर्न है वो डालेंगे। तो गवर्नमेंट को पता है कि नई स्कीम में कि अगर वो कोई हायर टैक्स ब्रैकेट में जाएगा तो वो सेविंग करेगा ही करेगा, पैसे का करेगा क्या? ठीक है, सिर्फ उन्होंने क्या करना चाहा है, जो बड़े वो 5 करोड़ के ज़्यादा वाले हैं उनको 25% जरूर हमने सरचार्ज रेट कम कर दिया 37% से, बट बाकी सब चीज़ें उनकी जो है हटा दी है। तो वो HNI को टैक्स करना चाहते हैं। दिस इज अ गुड प्रिंसिपल ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट, एनी गवर्नमेंट फॉर अ डेवलपमेंट। अभी आप ले लो जितने भी 31 मार्च तक, अगर आप प्लान कर रहे हो तो 25 लाख की जैन साहब ने ले रखी है, 25 की वो लेने वाले हैं। जितना मर्जी ले लो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। फिर भी LIC का शेयर तो कल गिर गया।
Okay, one last question from the audience. Anyone?
कन्वीनियंस अलाउंस ओपन टैक्स रिजिम में कितने अमाउंट तक एग्जम्पशन था?
कन्वीनियंस अलाउंस,
यस सर।
फिर कन्वेंस या कन्वीनियंस?
कन्वीनियंस।
ट्रैवलिंग अलाउंस एक तरह से।
यस सर।
रेजिडेंस टू ऑफिस।
Yes, sir.
न्यू रिजीम में कोई एग्जाम्पशन?
ओल्ड रिजिम सर?
ओल्ड रिजीम में तो वो लिमिट है ना 1500 रुपये, 800 रुपये। आप 1500 रुपये। अच्छा वो तो सॉरी स्टैंडर्ड डिडक्शन आने के बाद तो सब खत्म हो गया। अब आज की डेट में कोई कन्वेंस अलाउंस नहीं मिलता, क्योंकि वो 50,000 में इंक्लूड हो गई थी, पहले होता था।
सिर्फ जो लीव एनकेसमेंट का है वही चेंज है, बाकी जब प्रिंट आउट आ जाएगा।
एनगेजमेंट अग्निवीर
हाँ।
और स्टैंडर्ड
नहीं, अग्निवीर एक अलग चीज हो गई ना, अग्निवीर तो एक अलग ही स्कीम है वो, एज फार एज द
इनकम टैक्स में तो देना है ना।
नहीं, परक्यूजिट और ई कॉन्सेप्ट आ गया अग्निवीर में, एग्जाम एट द टाइम ऑफ अर्निंग एग्जाम, एट द टाइम ऑफ एक्चुअल एग्जाम एंड एट द टाइम ऑफ द मैच्योरिटी एग्जाम, वो द डिफरेंस है।
Okay, with this came today's this technical session one, and now I request Vidya sir for vote of thanks.
थैंक यू आशा जी कि बहुत अच्छा आपने मॉडरेट किया, और मेरे ख्याल से हमारे CSR रिसर्च फाउंडेशन में पहली बार आपने मॉडरेट किया, इसलिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। अब मैं चाहूँगा कि एक जोरदार तरीके से आशा जी स्वागत करें, और सारे स्पीकर का भी, क्योंकि मैं एज ए स्पीकर यहाँ नहीं था, बोला जब बोले थे, लेकिन मुझे लगा कि अविनाश जी ने बहुत अच्छा इसको सेशन को चेयर किया लगता है, और गति भी चेयर बनाना ही अच्छी रही है। मैं चाहूँगा कि एक इनको हमारी तरफ से मोमेंट दिया जाए, तो मैं आधार गुप्ता से कहूँगा कि वो मंच पे आए और एक मोमेंट को अविनाश गुप्ता जी को। और साथ ही साथ में BC गौतम जी से गुजारिश करूँगा कि वो संजय जैन जी को भी करें, पहले अविनाश। मैं संजय जैन जी को बोलूँ। CA के गुप्ता जी, तो के गुप्ता जी। NFP से मैडम अग्रवाल जी आप आए, और आशा जी को भी बोलते हैं। संजय जैन जी को बोलना है। आशा जी के गुप्ता जी से तफसील लेंगे। अहमद जी के पुलकित जैन जी। में देखा जाए तो सम्मान भी हम इसलिए करते हैं क्योंकि उन्होंने इतना टाइम स्पेंड किया है, दिल्ली में आने जाने में घंटे दूर दूर तक जाते हैं, तो ये तो हमारे लिए बड़ी सौभाग्य की बात है कि इतने अच्छे स्पीकर हमारे पास आते हैं। हम छोटा सा गिफ्ट देने की सम्मान करते हैं। हमारा नेक्स्ट सेशन जो है वो टेक्नीशियन 2 है, उसके लिए चेयरपर्सन हमारी दिल्ली थापर भी आ चुकी है, और 3 इस पर स्पीकर है KS चौहान जी हैं, और वीडियो अग्रवाल जी, और संजय सिन्हा है, सॉरी नितिन सिन्हा जी, चारों लोग आ चुके हैं। मैं चाहूँगा बैनी जी आप आ जाए और सेशन ग्रुप फोटो के लिए मैं चाहूँगा। बैनी जी आप आइए, और एक के नाम अभी अभिषेक जैन जी का हो गया, अभिषेक जैन, अभिषेक जैन।
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. I think everybody's aware of the next technical session today, which is going to cover topics related to salaries with respect to taxation, claiming of relief, allowances, perks, forms that need to be filed by the employees towards the employers, and various other areas that we will cover. We also have these team speakers. I'll just introduce them very, very quickly. We have K.S. Chauhanji with us. We have Meenu Agarwalji. We have Sachin Sinerji and Abhishek Jainji. And I will be chairing this session today. Thank you everybody for being here and for giving us this opportunity. To CSR Research Foundation also to be always there to call us and add to our knowledge and share our thoughts with you. So I think if everybody is comfortable and if our speakers are comfortable, rather than doing one by one, we'll start with a small introduction of the topic that we will speak on, and then we will have an interactive session within ourselves first, and then the audience will be interested to pose some questions. But we'll leave that for a later time as well. So I'm without a lot of preamble. We know the budget has just happened yesterday. We know there have been changes in the slab. A lot of people are excited about what that means for them. Keeping all that in mind, I'm going to start with the most, the most obvious, the most important point in this particular session, and that is going to be the declaration that is filed by employees to employers, because there's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of ambiguity. Although the forms are completely, there for a long time, they've not changed, but there is confusion around timing, there's confusion around a lot of tedious applicability based on that timing. So can I request Sachinji to take this up first and introduce this portion of the topic?
So, good afternoon to all, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity first. Because this is the topic which we are going to discuss, very vast applicability, because every company has so many employees, and of course, so many compliances needs to be done. So, starting with a person who joins a company at a time of appointment, whether he need to give some declaration to the employer or not. So, to be very frank with you, in most of the cases we have seen that the employer is not asking for any declaration at time of employment joining, because they feel that okay, if the person is here, we can ask this document anytime because he will remain with us till the year at least. But unfortunately, there are few forms which are required to be obtained at a time of joining. The number one is there is form 12B, where the person has to give the details to the employer that he has come from about the last employment, what is last employment. So while talking about last employment, the section or the rule is framed in such manner that it talks about the last employment. So previous employer detail has to be furnished. So the question arises, if the person is not in employment earlier, then whether he need to do this form or not. Or if the person was employed in a foreign company in a foreign country, in that case also he is required to give such declaration or not. So these are few important aspects. So the provision given in the rule, because this is not in the section. Section says the prescribed form is to be furnished. The prescription is given in the rule. So the rule says that the form is to be furnished by the employee about his acts or past employment, and the details consideration covers about the salary and about benefit what he has obtained earlier, or about the deduction whether he has standard deduction whether he has claimed earlier or not. So this is the basic information which needs to be given. So in the last session, what Avinash ji has raised a very important issue, that sometime at the time of joining, the employee says that I am employer has not nothing to worry about obtaining. Only they have to obtain this. So this is what.
Just a very quick question on your point. Is there no penalty to all this form? Because usually what I see is that employers don't insist for this form, mainly because they don't want to be hampered with the burden of calculating the income of that particular employee in the previous employment, adding it and merging it with the current salaries or perks that they're receiving as vested in this particular employment, and then sort of share the burden of any short taxation that had been deducted in the earlier cases, whether hitting the earned income. Usually, I've seen the employers don't encourage it to avoid taking the responsibility. And even in some cases, I have been given to understand that if the employee would like to give the form, they are not very keen on taking it.
Right.
So, what is your take on that?
So for this purpose, why the employer should obtain this? To refer to see this application, just refer section 192. Section 192 talks about the deduction of tax by the employer to the on the salary which is being given to the employee. It says how to calculate the tax on that income, because here the rate is not given. It says the rate as given, and that is on the total income. So how to calculate? It says the previous employment also that to be included. So how the employer will come to know that what how much he has obtained from earned from the previous employer. That is the only medium, and this is prescribed in the rule. So this is mandatory to be obtained, as rightly pointed out by Wilman, that this is generally we have seen that it is not being obtained by the employer at time of employment or during the year also. But this is prescribed in the rules, so this has to be followed. This has to be followed.
Would you like to add on that?
On the other way, it is obligatory on the part of the employee to furnish the detail if he obtained any salary from the previous employer or he is having any income other than the present employment. So it is obligation on the part of the employee, so that the obligation of the employer should also be fulfilled for the deducting the tax at source. That is the main
Would you
question.
like to answer that? Yeah, just to add on this, why it is important for the employees to declare, we have seen a scenario where for some reason if the employees do not disclose the previous employment details, at the time of return filing, what happens that the previous employer has given the deduction under ATC, suppose for example, of the entire amount, and even the new employer is giving you the entire deduction because employee fails to give the previous employee details. Ultimately, at the time of return filing, they have to rework their tax, and at that time they have to pay the additional tax due to double deduction what they have been provided by the employees. So it is always better to encourage employees to give your previous employment details so that you avoid all those 234A, B, C penalties as well at the time of filing the return. So it becomes beneficial for the employees as well.
So what we are given to understand is that number one, the obligation exists as far as the employee is concerned, but we don't think it's backed up by any penalties or anything at this point of time. At the same time, it's prudent that this declaration is given so that the employee does not end up ultimately paying more from his pocket at a later date, because it's quite natural that if the TDS element is short, the ultimate onus of paying taxes is on the individual.
Right.
And so that person would then have to pay those taxes along with all the other interests and penalties that need to be made good. So as such, it's a good practice. Now,
Yes.
as far as filling of these forms are concerned,
I want to
yes,
add this. Actually, as I told earlier, that it is the obligation on the part of the employee to declare this. If employee fails to declare, then in that case, employer will not be deducting. Then it will again the obligation on the part of the employee to declare that income in the income tax return, and will also be liable for the interest under section 234, various sections. So because the deferment of the tax will take place, and at the time of the furnishing return, he or she has to deposit the tax. So, and the employer will also be not be penalized for that he didn't deduct or she didn't deduct the tax at source. So once the information was not furnished by the employee to the employer, so employer did not deduct the tax. So it is all the liability lies on the employee at the time of the furnishing the income tax return to pay tax on the salary received from the earlier employer, or income received from the other sources other than the salary from the present employer, and have to pay the interest and accordingly. So,
So I think in a nutshell, the obligation stays with the employee. Either you declare or you pay more at the end of the day. So far, I think we rest the filing of this particular
so I just
form
want to add one
and
point.
this declaration at this point.
Yes, I just want to add one point. So if you see the form or the rule prescription, it says about the information about the previous employer. It doesn't talk about the information about the current employer, assuming you have two current employer.
That's true.
So this is missing in that part. So we have raised this query in the CBDT also, but they did not consider it because most of the person not filing, so it is not bothering. But this is also very important because assuming I am getting with one employer, assuming 5 lakh, he is not deducting tax because he is not liable to deduct tax. And another employer I am getting 5 lakhs, he is also not deducting the tax because he is not liable to tax, assuming he is only my employee, or he is doing part-time somewhere but he is not bothering. So the information is missing and the employer is enjoying till the time he is not paying the tax. So at the time annual return, he will definitely pay the tax.
But typically, how does the employer enjoy? Employer has to part
Employee.
Yeah.
Employee. So employee is enjoying till the time he is filing his annual return. At the time of annual return, of course, he will
But
pay the
at
tax.
that point of time, he will end up paying his interest and penalties.
Yes,
And
yes,
also,
yes.
I don't think that there is any sensibility. If you are a prudent financial
Correct.
planner, I don't think there's any sensibility in withholding these declarations unless there is some other ulterior motive, of course, for which the government has not penalized the employee so far.
Correct.
So let's go on to a further form filing. Any other declaration that the employees need to make other than this? Sachinji, and then thereafter Meenuji, if you can take it up.
Yes, apart from this, while during the year, generally in the month of February, we have seen that the employer asks for the annual declaration about the investment and about the any other income if you have. So that is only related to interest income or any other source income and not about the business income, because they are not going to consider anyway business income. And that information needs to be furnished by the employee to the employer within the month of February, so that if any non-compliance or non-tax has been deducted till then, it will be adjusted or paid before the 31st of March. So this form is to be filed by the employee to the employer, and this is, I think, religiously employers are following to obtaining this form.
Yes, they are, because otherwise there's a clear indication that if you haven't given any, we won't give you any benefit for that, basically.
Yes.
Yes. So going on from here, I will request Chauhanji to take up the issue of taxation on allowances and perks in general and in most welcome, in general and in particular, and then we will request the other panel members to continue in the perks area and talk about HRA and interest on housing loan, etc.
आदरणीय बेनी जी, हमारे CSR रिसर्च फाउंडेशन के चेयरमैन दीनदयाल अग्रवाल जी और उपस्थित सभी मेरे अग्रज और सहोदर बंधुवर एवं बहन यहाँ पर जो उपस्थित हैं, और स्टूडेंट्स ऑल्सो, ये अमृतकालीन बजट है। हालांकि बहुत कुछ बोला जा चुका है। इससे पहले कि मैं आगे बढ़ूं, थोड़ा एक पॉइंट का क्लैरिफिकेशन करूंगा। हमारे MP साहब सुबह आए थे, उन्होंने सेल के बारे में, स्टील अथॉरिटी के बारे में कुछ कहा था कि स्टील जो सेक्टर है उसके बारे में, तो मैं बताऊंगा। जैसे उन्होंने कहा था, बिल्कुल सही कहा कि भारत देश हमारा 4-5 साल पहले वर्ल्ड का सेकंड लार्जेस्ट स्टील मैन्युफैक्चरर बना। जापान पहले सेकंड नंबर पर था, फर्स्ट नंबर पर चाइना था, सेकंड नंबर पर जापान था और थर्ड नंबर पर हिंदुस्तान था। लेकिन जापान को पीछे छोड़ करके हिंदुस्तान सेकंड नंबर पर स्टील के मैन्युफैक्चरर बना। हालांकि चाइना और हिंदुस्तान के बीच में गैप काफ़ी ज़्यादा था, 6-7 गुना चाइना हमसे ज़्यादा स्टील बनाता था। लेकिन इस सब के बावजूद भी स्टील अथॉरिटी ऑफ इंडिया, जिसमें मैं उस समय इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर था, और 3 साल के टेन्योर में, तीनों साल के टेन्योर में जो लॉस मेकिंग कंपनी थी वो प्रॉफिट में टर्न हुई और 3 साल लगातार कंपनी ने प्रॉफिट कमाया। खैर वो छोटा इशू है, क्योंकि उनकी बात का जवाब देना जरूरी था। उन्होंने बहुत हेल्प की, और एंटी डंपिंग, जो कि चाइना एंटी डंपिंग हिंदुस्तान में कर रहा था, उस पर एंटी डंपिंग ड्यूटी भी लगी। और उसके बाद में तो स्टील का सेक्टर आप समझ ही रहे हैं कि 25-30 रुपये किलो से लेकर के 55-60 रुपये किलो तक मेटेरियल गया, एक्सपोर्ट भी हुआ, सब कुछ हुआ। इंडिजिनस स्टील हम लोगों ने इस सेल ने बनाया, और अपने जो टैंक्स वगैरह हैं, मिसाइल्स हैं, सबके लिए स्टील सेल ने बना करके दिया। तो मैं इसकी बैकग्राउंड में जाऊं कि नहीं जाऊं, क्योंकि जो अपने सैलरी का प्रोविजन तो जब से सृष्टि का सृजन हुआ है तभी से चल रहा है।
आई थिंक ज़्यादा अच्छा ये रहेगा कि एक एक आइटम पे ना जाके आप ब्रॉडली बताएं कि जो अलाउंसेस और पर्क्स हैं उनका क्या सिचुएशन थी ओल्ड रिजीम में, क्या है न्यू रिजीम में, और उसी के हिसाब से जो अब कल का बजट आया है, जस्ट ऑन अ वेरी ब्रॉड क्विक लेवल, बिकॉज आई थिंक बजट को लेके एक सेपरेट सेशन है, तो उसमें कोई ऐसी स्पेसिफिक चीज़ है जो इम्पैक्ट करती है?
एक्चुअली जो ओल्ड रिजीम और जो फाइनेंशियल ईयर 2021-22 रिलेटेड टू असेसमेंट ईयर 22-23 कोई मेजर चेंजेस सैलरी वाले में नहीं है। सिर्फ जो इनकम का स्लैब है वो 5 लाख के बढ़ से बढ़ा करके 7 लाख किया गया है, और एक लीव एनकेसमेंट जो पहले रिजीम में नॉन गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉयज़ के लिए, गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉयज़ के लिए तो अंडर सेक्शन 10 में जितना भी उनको मिल रहा था एज पर रूल्स वो सारा एग्जेम्प्ट था लीव सैलरी का, लेकिन नॉन गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉयज़ को जो को वेरी करता है फ्रॉम कंपनी टू कंपनी, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन टू ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, उसके बारे में जो लिमिटेड 3 लाख के लिए था उसको बढ़ा करके 25 लाख का प्रपोजल है। अभी एप्लीकेबल तो जब होगा जब पार्लियामेंट से पास हो जाएगा, लेकिन प्रपोजल ये है कि 3 लाख की लिमिट को बढ़ा करके 25 लाख किया गया है, और जो इनकम का स्लैब बढ़ाया गया है वो 5 लाख से 7 लाख के लिए किया गया है। जो एग्जेम्पशंस और अलाउंसेस क्लेम करने की जो पोजीशन थी, ओल्ड रेजिम में तो लोग क्लेम कर सकते थे, न्यू रेजिम में क्लेम नहीं कर सकते थे, वो ऑलमोस्ट सेम ही है, उसमें कोई बहुत ज़्यादा चेंजेस नहीं आए हैं, कोई ऐसे चेंजेस नहीं है कि ओल्ड रेजिम में जो लोग ऑप्ट किया था उन्होंने वो अपना ईटीसी वगैरह में और जो एग्जेम्पशंस हैं परक्विजिट्स का और अलाउंसेस का वो अलाउड था, इसमें अलाउड नहीं है। अब इसमें जो अलाउंसेस एंड परक्विजिट्स की 3 कैटेगरीज हैं जो पहले से ही हैं। एक तो कैटेगरी है आपका टैक्सेबल इन केस ऑफ द ऑल एम्प्लॉइज, जो परक्विजिट्स हैं जो सारी कैटेगरीज के एम्प्लॉइज के लिए एग्जेम्प्ट है, सच एज रेंट फ्री अकोमोडेशन, कंसेशन इन द रेंट, पेमेंट मेड बाय द एम्प्लॉयर अगेंस्ट द ऑब्लिगेशन ऑफ द एम्प्लॉय, अमाउंट पेबल डायरेक्टली और इनडायरेक्टली बाय द एम्प्लॉयर फॉर अश्योरेंस ऑफ द life of the assessee, specified security of the suite equity options allotted or transferred by the employer, any amount paid into the contribution to an approved superannuation fund, any other fringe benefit and the amenity, ये टैक्सेबल है सारे एम्प्लॉयज़ के लिए किसी भी कैटेगरी। दूसरा है एग्जेम्प्ट इन द केसेस ऑफ ऑल एम्प्लॉयज़। पहले वाला मैंने बताया जो टैक्सेबल है सभी एम्प्लॉयज़ को, दूसरे वाला बताया जो ऑल एम्प्लॉयज़ के लिए एग्जेम्प्ट है, जैसे लीव ट्रैवल कंसेशन, मेडिकल फैसिलिटीज, कंप्यूटर और लैपटॉप टू बी यूज्ड बाय द एम्प्लॉय, इनिशियल फी फॉर द कॉर्पोरेट मेंबरशिप, पेमेंट ऑफ द एनुअल प्रीमियम ऑफ द पर्सनल एक्सीडेंट पॉलिसी, प्रोविजन फॉर मेडिकल फैसिलिटीज, गिफ्ट्स अप टू ए सर्टेन एक्सटेंट, यूज ऑफ द हेल्थ केयर फॉर स्पोर्ट्स फैसिलिटी, चाइल्ड एजुकेशन, हॉस्टल अलाउंस, ट्रांसपोर्ट अलाउंस दैट इज 1600 per month per employee, free meal that is exempt in all the categories. Third one is taxable in the hands of the specified employees. All employees is said to be the specified employees in any of the following cases: if a director of the company or he has any substantial interest in the affairs of the company. Substantial interest means more than holding the capital of 20% or more. 20% more or more voting power. तो
बेसिकली रिलेटेड पार्टी,
हाँ, जो बेसिक ये सबके केस में एक्चुअली क्या है, एम्प्लॉयर एम्प्लॉय रिलेशनशिप बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट इशू है, क्योंकि अगर इफ समबडी इज इन एम्प्लॉयमेंट तो ही हैज टू बी द एम्प्लॉय, द एम्प्लॉयर एम्प्लॉय रिलेशनशिप मस्ट एग्जिस्ट in the case of the employee. If suppose partner is getting salary from the firm, then employer employee relationship is not exist. So in that case the income is taxed under the head of the business and profession. In the case of the normal employees, the income is taxed under the head of the salary. If member of parliament is getting salary, so the member of parliament is not the employee of the government. So income received by the member of parliament is taxable under the head of
income from other sources. If somebody is the minister in the government of India, council, somebody is minister. In that case, income is taxed under the head of the salary. So these are the basic differences. As far as the allowances and perquisites are concerned, I have discussed that the allowances which are exempt to all categories of the employees, which are, second one is the taxable to the all employees, third one is taxable in the hands of the specified employees only. So taxable allowances के बारे में जैसे मैं बता रहा था, includes the dearness allowance, entertainment allowance, overtime allowance, city compensatory allowance, interim allowance, project allowances, tiffin allowance, partially taxable allowances. This is the second category which I am taking, that some portion is taxable, some portion is exempt. So in the Income Tax Act 1961, in the rules, it is already defined which portion is exempt and which portion is taxable. In the case of the HRA, if somebody is paying the rent, then in that case, some of you who are the professionals would be knowing, and some who are new to the Income Tax Act. In that case, HRA under section under 10 is allowed 40% of the salary, 10% of the salary, rent paid in excess of the 40% of the salary. In the metropolitan cities, rent paid in excess of 50% of the salary, and actual HRE, whichever is less is the exempt. So likewise, this traveling allowance, going to office, 1600 per month to the employees, exempt category. If he's getting more than that, then that excess amount will be the taxable. So these are the basic things. Only new change in the present budget is only this leave encashment for the salary is amount is enhanced from 3 lakhs to 25 lakhs. Now for non-government employees. So this is the basic thing. If you want to know any of the questions about it,
we'll take the questions in the whole panel. Thank you so much, Mr. Chauhan.
Thank you very much.
And now I'm given to understand that Abhishek ji has to leave a little early, so I'm going to request him to speak on the annual information statements 26 AS and how to handle these mismatches, because that's a very, very important part of any computation, salary as well as any other computation. Ultimately, I think we've all come down to a point where now no return can be filed at all till we have reconfirmed and reconciled everything with our respective 26 AS and TIS and AIS. So I'm going to hand over the mic to Abhishek ji so he can enlighten us on this. Would you like to also? Okay, you have a presentation?
Please. Please flip out. Thank you, all of you. Thank you, CSR Foundation. And as always, it's insightful deliberation from all the speakers and Deen Dayal sir, who always available for us, for companies, for government PSUs, etc. Thank you, and thank you specifically all of you. It's again a budget session. And everyone is busy to find out what we have lose and what we are going to gain. So without wasting much time, AIS, just flip the page. Only few things that I need to deliver. Please change the pen, and otherwise give me a remote. Thank you. I will take you through with this particular, if you can see the index part. I don't want to take you through with go through the entire 26 years, you know very well. See, what is information relating to the tax deducted at source. There again, whenever the new circular came, the 7 things that need to be covered by the 26 years. Even some of the things still not yet compiled. They need more infrastructure. Like related to TDS, you know, second point, information relating to specified financial transactions, right? And third is relating to payment of taxes, covered. Information relating to demand of refund, covered. Information relating to pending proceedings, still not yet in the 26 years. Reason being, it's again being an employer, being a professional, it is very important to know, even disclose the statutory pending, even at the time of filing the statutory audit report, we need to give the status of the pending litigation. You will find over here.
as far as GST, Companies Act, income tax, each and everything. At what stage your appeal is pending? Very important. So for government, it will be again very fruitful, for the department fruitful. If your scrutiny is going on under income tax, then he will be able to even find out what are the demand raised by the GST departments. And the next is information related to completed proceedings. And the next is any other information related to Rule 114I. So, if you see the next page, here the last line, information completed proceeding, still one left, 7th. I will take you through in the next page. The last line, this information will be uploaded within the 3 months from the end of the month in which information received by particular designated authority who is responsible to upload the same. It is defined in the rule itself. And what about the next 7th information? About received from any authority, any other matter, that is the Principal Director General System IT information, him to upload the information received from any officer. Please be with me, because it is not covered till date. Information received from any officer, authority, body performing any function under any law. The information received under an agreement referred in 90, international taxation. Very important. The information received from any other person to the extent as it may deem fit in the interest of the revenue. Like assume, still it is not yet there. But let's assume GST department find out bogus purchase in your case. They can put the information, whatever they find out, under the system, and it will be uploaded in the 26 AS. And the income tax authority can immediately check out, because you know, for the bogus purchase, there is again a penalty in the GST as well as the income tax as well. And the last line, that is again important, now not only the concerned taxpayer, but also all the other person will know and have access to the such information. This is all about Form 26 years. This is nothing else. Please open a new slide. Second one, matching. 26 years is now, I normally said, taxpayer kundli, right? हम जन्म कुंडली मिलाते हैं, हम शादी के लिए कुंडली मिलाते हैं. अगर अब आपसे कोई ट्रांजैक्शन करेगा, इवन न्यू बजट, दैट इज अगेन डिजिटल जो हमारा लोकर है, ईच एंड एवरी इंफॉर्मेशन बिलोंग्स टू एसएससी विल बी देयर, एंड ईच एंड एवरी डिपार्टमेंट आर नाउ अथोराइज्ड टू एक्सेस दीज इंफॉर्मेशन for KYC purpose, but might possible department through by the 26 years, like that wise, DigiLocker, 26 years, every authority can access your default in single point of click. You cannot hide any default, right? See, please open the new slide given in the matching wala. I will take you through the normally when I uploaded my video on high compliance of high value transaction. I believe most of you or your client received the message 2 days before the due date of belated return that you have high value transaction, you need to comply. 26 is nothing but now annual information statement. So it is very important to matching the, just I am going through the, from the portal only, and number of queries I received, number of call I have received related to this issue only. This is not related to AIS, this is related to compliance of that, matching of that. Very important point. Right? See, e-campaign, here we have opened the site. You can find out the compliance portal, right? After compliance portal, it will take you through the proceed. Proceed, you can find out the e-campaign and you can select out the year as well, assessment year 21, 22, like. And here you can find out the e-campaign list. You can see the whatever written in the green blue link. You can simply click on that, then you will take through this information, feedback information AIS. You can find it over here. Matching, we need to match the, as in our earlier discussion I told you that After few years, 3 to 5 years down the line, we need to just click on the filing the return only. No need to give any input for the return. This is the basic step to achieve that target. You will be migrated to AIS, right? Annual information statement. You can hear taxpayer TIS. Taxpayer summary is, it's nothing but the summary of the transaction. And then you can find out AIS. What it is exactly. See the number of transaction, salary, right? You can find out salary, business receipt, etc. And any other things. Here I have just hide the information. See, salary receipt 192, business receipt, outward current remittance, right? It is given. You need to just amount and related information. Here, just top of the screen, SFT information, PDS information. You can find out. SFT information, payment of taxes, demand and refund, and other information, right? So by clicking on that, you can have the view of that. Here, very important. Here you can see the mark in an orange color. E is expected. If you have the visibility of that, E. हाँ, अभी है थोड़ा सा यहाँ दिखाई नहीं दे रहा, वो दिखाई दे रहा है. Expected, meaning thereby you need to give reply. Otherwise you have option over there. Option. E, you need to give reply to that particular transaction. Otherwise it will mean that is related to you and accordingly you do the assessment. Right now we are not taking any step on that in aggressive manner. Might possible, you can see. Here are the like expected. Whenever you click that, then you will find out expected option. You can see expected, optional, optional, optional. Now for expected, you need to give the feedback. Now whenever you click on that particular transaction, you will find out the reply in like that. That information is correct. Income is not taxable. Information not fully correct. Information relates to the other pain, right? Sometimes it happens. Rent has been taken in the name of one assessee, but it belongs to his mother. But he has taken in his account, and by mistake, the person who is paying the rent put the PAN number of his son. So you can just write, it's not belongs to this man, correct PAN is this. Then automatically this information will be reflected on whose the porter? Mother. Then she need to reply for this particular information, yes, this information belongs to me. Automatically will be settled. Now likewise, we need to just fill the entire information, feedback, choose option, and then your option will be submitted, and thank you for the feedback. Like this way, we need to give reply. What will be the consequences if you are not taking any action on the compliance part? Let's assume you have received interest of 7,000, but you haven't shown this particular 7,000 in your return, but under AIS it was reflecting. Yes, concealment of income. Penalty is there. If you can revise, then revise that. If time has been lapsed because the 31st was the last date, December was the last date, then you have now one another option, 139U, right? So by this way, we need to match each and everything, find out the transaction. Sometime one question came on the my YouTube video, sir, I have 700 transaction. How can I reply one by one? No, there is again one option. You can download the utility and JSON file and select over there and upload the same in one shot. So by this way, we need to match each and everything by cross-checking with the information available with us, और रिप्लाई करना ही रहेगा. एक्सपेक्टेड का तो मैं कहता हूँ आपको रिप्लाई करना ही रहेगा, पर आने वाले टाइम पे आप मान के चलिए यू नीड टू रिप्लाई ईच एंड एवरीथिंग. Thanks a lot from my side. Any question on that? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Before we open up the session to the audience, just one quick question, Abhishek. Do you think that the way we are going forward, AIS will be totally, it will totally subsume 26 AS?
Yes,
Because
it's
so far
already.
It's not completely subsumed. So far we are still, it's completely written there that if there is a discrepancy between this statement and that statement, then 26 AS is to be taken as the correct statement. But what is happening is that I think everybody would like to know that, even the ones who are practicing. We look at 26 AS, we look at AIS, then we also look at TIS, and not every information is same everywhere, not every information necessarily matches everywhere. Now, where a particular assessee is completely sure of the income that they have received, which happens in most cases, there's no confusion, because whichever statement is wrong, and if 26 AS is wrong, then they know how to get that also remedied. But there are instances where even the assessee is not 100% sure, because some interest has, for example, come in from a bank on an FD. Now, neither you, I, nor anybody specifically sits and calculates a daily interest pattern of how much I should have got on that 1 lakh or 10 lakh of deposit. We simply rely on the software of the bank, which in some cases could be either erroneous or incomplete. It doesn't happen rampantly, but it does happen. And so there are mismatches of various types. How does one, handle that? I mean, I know it's more a case-to-case basis, but this is not a lone situation. It does happen very frequently, even with the practicing CAs when they realize their clients' returns.
Very true. Great question it is. Normally, we are facing this problem on our daily practicing work. In that case, you just need to find out the correct interest. Just get the statement from the bank if you you can. Again, it's again depends upon the materiality part as well. Sometimes what happens, some of our client in AIS 127 interest is reflecting, so he don't bother to even inquire about that particular transaction. So he says, sir, please cover that. So either in that way, if it is again material and tax implication is there, definitely you need to have something to justify that particular part. So take the statement from the bank. If you want to include that income in your taxable part, and reply accordingly.
So basically, you do feel that AIS is going to be the future. It's going to subsume TIS, 26 AS, everything ultimately, and this will be like not only a base for the filing of the return, but more or less a return would get prepared as we have been seeing that the ease of filing taxation has been spoken about. There is already a system where the portal sort of pre-populates quite a few areas and fields of income. So you feel that this is how a automated return process has already started?
Very true. It's again a future. Taxpayer Kundli, even I write in my front page of the taxpayer Kundli, it's again a future. Over the period of time, it will get replaced, and 26 AS will not be available on the portal, might be, because the way they are going, they want to make this process of processing the ITR hassle-free, and the data which is given by the finance minister yesterday, that lakhs of ITR processed within 1 or 2 days. This is because of the system that we have placed right now. Otherwise, it is not possible. Technology definitely will play a vital role. AI, even again, a future of this era, right? So, absolutely, I will agree with your statement that AIS is the future.
So thank you Abhishek. Would you like to add? Yes, please.
करना चाहता हूँ थोड़ा सा। आप शायद ये भी जानने में इंटरेस्टेड होंगे कि ये जो ऑटो पॉपुलेटेड इंफॉर्मेशन है 26 AS में, AIS में, इसके क्या फ़ायदे और क्या नुकसान है, और कहाँ हमको कॉशियस रहने की ज़रूरत है। फ़ायदा तो ये है, मेरे क्लाइंट के किसी के साथ हुआ 2007 में, वो उन्होंने FDR बनाई अपनी, और वो ब्रेन में कुछ हुआ, भूल गए, फिजिकली वो कहीं फायर वायर हुआ तो उसमें डेस्ट्रॉय हो गई। तो अभी इसमें असेसमेंट 22-23 में AIS में इंटरेस्ट आया हुआ था, इंटरेस्ट KYC में पूरा नहीं था, तो KYC की वजह से कुछ कोई प्रॉब्लम हुई, 26 AS में नहीं आया लेकिन AIS में आया हुआ था। तो उनको उससे पता चला जब इंटरेस्ट 80,000 रुपीज़ वहाँ डिस्प्ले हो रहा था, तो हमने कहा कि 10 लाख से ऊपर की तो FDR है ही कम से कम। तो फ़ायदा तो ये है कि जो वो चीज़ भूल गए थे वो वहाँ से इन्फॉर्मेशन आ गई, वो बैंक में गए, बैंक से पता किया, वो उनकी FDR मिल गई। लेकिन नुकसान एक है जहाँ कॉशियस होने की ज़रूरत है। कई बार इसको इन्फॉर्मेशन को फीड करना टू एयर इज ह्यूमन, गलती करना मनुष्य का स्वभाव है। इफ़ इट इज़ अनइंटेंशनल देन इट इज़ मिस्टेक, इफ़ इट इज़ इंटेंशनल देन इट इज़ फ्रॉड। ऑडिट में कहते हैं इफ़ इट इज़ इंटेंशनल देन इट इज़ फ्रॉड। तो अगर अनइंटेंशनल मिस्टेक है, किसी दूसरे की इन्फॉर्मेशन आपके में आ गई तो आप चिंतित हो जाएंगे। और अगर आपने 26 AS के बेस पे अपने रिटर्न फाइल कर दी और AIS को ध्यान नहीं किया और आपने डिक्लेयर नहीं किया, तब भी आप प्रॉब्लम में आ जाएंगे। तो बहुत कॉशियस होने की ज़रूरत है, सारे पॉइंट्स को कंसिडर करते हुए आपको अपने यूज़ करते हुए
बिल्कुल
फाइल
बिल्कुल। सो आई थिंक टू सम दिस अप, समथिंग दैट ऑल CS डू, वी ऑलवेज err ऑन द साइड ऑफ कॉशन। अगर किसी चीज़ कोई भी इंफॉर्मेशन हमें किसी भी एक स्टेटमेंट में दिखती है, even if it's not available in all the other statements, I think as a normal prudence, every professional goes back to their client and says that you please disprove to us that this income was not yours, otherwise our advice is to add it to your income and pay taxes on it. And I think that is something we all do. So it was really nice talking to you, Abhishek, and because he is in a hurry to leave, he has to attend another session. If the audience has any questions, we'll take them first and then we'll carry on our session after that. Any questions do we have for Abhishek? So I think with that, yes, please. हाँ, please एक mic वहाँ पे पहुँचाइए, please.
We were listening to a very good discussion that we were having there regarding filling up with AIS or the section 26 AS coming in and going out and the other parts of taxation of the individual taxpayer. My question is typically, are there some leverages in this new tax scheme where a salaried employee can get benefits? Like for example, an HUF, what I've heard of, forming a Hindu undivided family. Does it help me as an individual taxpayer to claim some benefits?
Who wants to take that? You want to take it? Acha, okay, I think I'll just answer that question very quickly. By having an HUF, basically, so I don't know if you're aware, but HUF gets formed the day you are born, the day you are married, right? And usually prior to the change in the inheritance and HUF law, it actually got a life only after you had your first male child, but now any first child and it goes forward. However, that is the formation of an HUF legally, but formation of an HUF in the income tax as an entity, typically that does not give any benefit to you unless you start diverting income, which of course is an illegal situation. A salaried employee gets money based on the work that he or she performs for an organization based on a given scope of work. The money you get from there, that money is typically your individual money on which taxes have been paid and you are further investing. Yes, at some point of time you could put some money into the HUF for the upkeep of the family if you do have an HUF. And in due course, the HUF could start a business, or the HUF could, I mean, you could do tax planning, there's nothing wrong with that. The HUF could do a business, or they could do something in that where there would be two assessees, but that does not mean that your salary income can be given to the HUF and you can use this for tax planning. That would become tax avoidance. So that is not, if I'm answering your question correctly, if you are understanding my purport, that is not the way forward.
That if I divert my salary income into an HUF, it'll be merging of incomes and that will be taxed on my at
Yes.
source.
Yes.
But suppose if I'm having a house or some amount of a house typical where I'm getting a rent or something, can I put that asset into the HUF?
Then you'll have to transfer that asset into the HUF. And thereafter, it is no longer the asset of you as an individual, which means you are not the only one who owns that asset. The whole family owns that asset. Yes, I'm not saying you cannot push the asset into that into that HUF. One time you can. Ultimately, the HUF's assets grew like this only from whenever it started in a particular family. When you inherit an asset which is an HUF asset, it's a different category. Sometimes you inherit an asset which is not an HUF asset, but you can treat it as an HUF asset because it's coming from your ancestral property.
Right.
But in the case where it's your own hard, a self-made asset, if you do transfer it once into the HUF with a legal framework, then you also have to understand that the income may ultimately become the income of the HUF, but you've also lost the right to your property to do with it as you like individually.
No, but
Then
I
your-
remain the.
Then, one second, then your entire family who is part of that HUF
Okay,
can
there
at
we go.
any point of time ask for a partition and ask you to sell that property and then give a portion to them.
Okay, got it.
Daughters, sons, wife, everybody.
Got it. Second question was like nowadays, what is the government has decreased my GPF contribution also. Previously, I could contribute any amount of my salary into GPF, and it was a lump sum where I was getting a total exemption on it. Now they've limited it to 5 lakh rupees in a year.
That's
Now
right.
I've got liquid funds in my account. Can I give a donation into my a child who is a major and who has very little no source of income?
So that's not a donation, that is a gift.
Oh, that's
And
a
you can give any amount of gift to a major child. And
Any
that's
amount of times?
any amount of time.
There is no question asked.
There's no
So there is
question.
no clubbing of income with a child
There's
then?
no question, no, there will be no clubbing so long as the child is a major.
Okay.
So long as the child has attained the age of 18, it is assumed that once you have given the money, you have given away the right to the money also. You will never get it back.
Got it.
But if there are cross entries that are running between your, say for example, your and your daughter's account, you keep gifting her money and then she keeps gifting it back to you, then it will very clearly appear as a sort of a transfer of money just for the transfer of income, which will of course not be
So
accepted.
basically I have to make sure that when I gift it to her, I don't get anything in return.
Yes, it's
Got it.
gifted, it's over and done with it.
But
It's done
again-
out of natural love and affection.
Again, when she becomes she's a major of course, she joins a job or her income gets above more than 10 lakhs, can she gift it back to me when I'm a retired person?
See, logically, she is not gifting it back to you because that would be wrong terminology.
okay, got it.
At some other point of time, 4, 5, 10 years down the line, she has also gifted something to you. That's a different thing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah.
फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन के बारे में मैं थोड़ा सा ऐड करना चाहूँगा.
Sir.
फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन जो आपका था, देखिए जो आपने सैलरी के बारे में कहा कि यू वांट टू ट्रांसफर द सैलरी पोर्शन टू द HUF.
No, I didn't say the salary portion. What I meant was, I have a defined source of income as a salaried employee.
Yes. Yes.
So I've got my assets which I've inherited. I've got assets which I've made, sir, a flat I have made. I've got a flat which I've inherited from my father or mother or somewhere. And I've got a salaried thing. So is there benefit anything going into an
Yes,
HUF,
yes,
forming
yes.
an HUF?
Yes, benefit is there. Benefit up to the extent of the basic exemption limit is there. Suppose 2,50,000 पहले basic exemption limit थी, 2,50,000 तक HUF पे कोई टैक्स नहीं था. मतलब आपको आप ग्रोसअप अगर कर दें बाई 70 तो वो हाउस प्रॉपर्टी पे जो एग्जेम्पशन मिलती है उसको ग्रोसअप कर दें. अगर आपकी एंसेस्ट्रल प्रॉपर्टी है जिसको आप इनकम ले रहे हैं और टैक्स दे रहे हैं, इससे बेहतर है कि वो HUF में रहे, एंसेस्ट्रल प्रॉपर्टी रह सकती है और HUF में आपको बेनिफिट टैक्स का बेनिफिट मिल सकता है. लिमिटेड बेनिफिट अप टू द एक्सटेंट ऑफ 2,50,000 वो बेसिक एग्जेम्पशन लिमिट का.
But I would urge you,
To keep it there.
I would urge you to always do a cost benefit analysis of handing over the property into another entity on which you have lost control in your entirety on one side and the income benefit of having it split into 2 tax entities on the other side, and then take any decision that you'd like to.
Thank you panel so much. Thank you so much. Brother.
Thank you. Abhishek, I think you need to go. So with a round of applause, can we, thank you. Thank you. So, I hope everybody is not waiting कि ये बंद करे तो हम lunch करें. ऐसा तो नहीं है ना? We have some more time, right? It's an interesting conversation. I don't want to close it so quickly. So let's go forward and let's come back to allowances and perks that we were discussing. I think for HRA and interest on housing loan, I'd like your input on this, Minuji.
Yeah. Can I have the PPT? I'll just run through the PPT.
You can.
So this is a very interesting topic, I would say, you know, which all the employers also get very interested to understand how do we work about HRA, because employees come back and say we have 2 properties, we are staying in rent, we are paying interest on home loan, how do we work about it? So I will just rush you through first the provisions, what our Income Tax Act says. So we are going to concentrate on 1013A, and I'm going to, you know, roughly touch upon 80GG also, though I don't think we have an audience who need to concentrate on 80GG, but just a glimpse of it. And housing loan, how does 23(2) and 24B help us to understand, you know, how interest can be claimed. So first thing, we need to understand as an employer, if someone comes to me saying that I pay rent on a monthly basis and my annual rent is so much. As an employer, we need to calculate what will be the HRA that will be allowed. So the major part over here is if the CTC has HRA that is received to the employees, then is when we can give them the HRA allowance. So the first part, if you see here, is the actual HRA received. So which means that if my CTC does not have a HRA element, that particular employee won't be able to enjoy the HRA benefit. So that is important to note. And then we calculate, we have 3 you know, points in this. We pick the least of the following to see what is allowed. So we see what is the actual HRA received, then what is the rent that the employee is paying, we reduce the 10% of the salary from that, that will be your second amount. Third, we need to figure out where does the employee stay, whether the metro city or non-metro city. So if it is like metro cities, Bombay, Calcutta or Delhi, then we have, we can give a benefit of 50% of the salary that is being paid. Else it will be 40%. So once you get all these 3 amounts, the least of the following will be allowed to the employee as a tax allowance. So we need to, you know, get the basic information from them. The declarations, what we were just talking about, the employees need to give. In that, they have to submit the rent receipt to substantiate that they have been paying rent, along with the rent agreement. And in case the rent what they are paying exceeds 1 lakh rupees, then you have to provide even the PAN number of the landlord. So with these information, the employer will be able to calculate, or any of us, you know, as a profession, if someone approaches, will be able to calculate what will be the HRA allowance in that. So that is about the HRA. Now 80GG, what happens if my CTC does not have a HRA element? So as an individual employee, I have an option to opt under 80GG. So it provides certain conditions that you don't have a HRA under your CTC and you do not own any other residential property either by yourself or through your spouse. If these 2 conditions are satisfied, again you have a 3 amount calculation. Least of the following will be allowed, which will be 5,000 per month or 25% of adjusted total income, or actual rent if it is less than 10% of adjusted total income. So this calculation an individual needs to keep in mind, and they can still enjoy, even if the CTC does not have a HRA element, they can still enjoy the benefit under 80GG. So now this was a idea about how HRA works. Now quickly going to how do you get, now suppose you are paying rent as well, and you have a house where you have taken a home loan, you are paying a huge interest, you have principal amount, you are basically paying EMI. How do you go about it? So we have 24B, which provides for certain conditions where you can enjoy the benefit. You have a maximum deduction that you can claim in a year up to 2 lakh rupees on submission of certain documents. The interest certificate, what you are paying to any bank, you have to obtain. If it is during the year, then you get a provisional certificate and justify that, okay, this is the interest what you're paying and this is the principal amount that you're claiming. So the maximum amount of deduction would be 2 lakh rupees. Here you have one more interesting point is, suppose I have a house where the construction is going on and the possession is still have not received, but my EMI has already started. Then income tax provide another benefit of PCP, what we call it, which is pre-construction period interest, which till the date of your possession, till you occupy the property, you can accumulate how much of interest you have paid and claim it for the 5 years. So divided by 5 and then you can claim the interest. The point to be noted over here is the maximum cap that is available is only 2 lakh. So put together the interest deduction what you claim is 2 lakh rupees. I have just listed on few interesting cases. Now what if I am in Delhi? I am residing in Delhi, I have a home, I have my own property, I have taken a home loan, but due to some reasons I am also in a rented house. So can a person claim both HRA and interest on housing loan? So I have just drilled down a matrix kind of to understand if you have a home loan. The first case I'll take, if you have a home loan, say suppose in Delhi, but you are staying in a rented premises, basically in some other city. So if in Gurgaon or somewhere if you're staying, so can a person claim the benefit of both HRA and home loan? Are there any clashes, or can you say that no, you cannot avail one, you can only avail HRA or only home loan? So the understanding of the provisions is basically, if you're staying in a rented premises due to your employment in any other city, and you're not able to occupy the home that you have bought with the help of loan or anything, due to employment or due to some education of children, you can still avail the benefit of HRA and interest on housing loan. That is what my first case is. Now second case I come to, wherein in Delhi itself I have my own house and I also pay rent. I am also staying in a rented house. So how do I go about it? Can I avail this benefit? At the outset, if I read the law, I would say no, because if you are in the same city, you have a house where you are paying loan, then why? What is the reason for staying in a rented accommodation? You cannot. But because considering nowadays the distance what you occupy, for example in Bangalore, if you have to go to electronic city, then you have to travel a lot. It's like 2 hours of travel. Due to such reasons, if in the same city you have both house loan and you're paying rent, you can still claim it provided you have very genuine reason of your employment, right? Otherwise, just for the sake, I have two things, I have HRA and home loan, you cannot claim it. Your reason need to be really genuine if you want to claim both the benefits. Now again, I just discussed about PCP interest. Next comes is, if I have taken a loan, the fourth case over here, if I have taken a loan, but I have rented that out, and I am staying in a rented premises. So can, in this case, I claim interest on housing loan and HRA benefit? Here also you can do that. You can claim HRA, you need to submit all the documents and you can claim HRA. Plus for the rented income what you're getting on your property, you need to disclose that under income from house property and claim the benefit of interest based on the certificates that you submit. So to sum up, if you have really genuine reason why you have both HRA and home loan on the house in the same city, if it is genuine due to employment, then you can claim the benefit. Otherwise, you need to keep in mind that it has to be in two different cities for you to avail both the benefits. Thank you.
So, Meenuji, yeah, please applause first.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And Meenuji, a very quick question. When we talk about genuine reasons, so are these genuine reasons kind of laid out somewhere? Are they kind of inclusive, or are they exhaustive? Or do we leave it to the employer to make this decision? Do we leave it to the income tax to make this decision? Do we leave it to the employee to make this decision? And how much litigation would it lead to?
So this is the act specifically provides for employment related reasons. If it is due to employment that I have to move out of my own house and stay in a rented premises, I am able to justify my house is in Bangalore, but due to employment I am in Gurgaon, then
No,
yes,
I'm talking
due
about
to
the same
employment.
city.
Yeah.
Separate cities is fine. I'm talking about the same city scenario.
Same city also, due to distance, if you are able to justify that, you know, I have to travel
To
for
whom?
two.
Justify to whom?
So that comes to the employer. It is at the discretion of the employer. It is not specified anywhere. It is at the discretion of the employer if they want to consider that reason or not.
So what you're saying is that once I'm in the same city, I'm living in a different house, the reason is genuine, there is a 20-kilometer distance within the city for my employment, execution and for not staying at my own house. But, and when I submit this, if my employer disagrees and the HRA that they pay to me, they can still have an HRA component, but they
Yes.
consider it taxable. So
Yes.
they are the last authority on this. And in case I'm living only 5 kilometers or 7 kilometers apart, but they see some merit in what I'm saying, so then they give me the HRA benefit and deduct the TDS accordingly. So they're again the last authority.
See,
on that.
in that case, owners will again go on the employer. So employer need to be very cautious
Yeah,
when
but
they are
that will be
deciding
between the
with-
employer and the government,
Yes.
the income tax
yes.
department. But as
Yes.
far as the employee is concerned, the employer is the last word.
Employers are last. Yes.
All right. Any other questions from the audience?
Thank you.
Yes. Can we have a mic sent there, please?
Hello, good afternoon. Myself Shailendra Kumar, Center for High Technology. My question is whether this cap of 2 lakh is applicable for both rented accommodation as well as self-occupied accommodation.
Yes, sir. Recently, if I'm not wrong, FY 15-16 onwards, there was a change in the cap of how much you can claim under interest on housing loans. So that cap applies for both.
Both
Yes, it
self-occupied
applies
as
for-
well as rented accommodation.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it applies
Thank
for
you.
both.
Any other questions from the audience? Okay, so let's carry this to the culmination of the session. Yes, please. Yes, absolutely.
So one thing जो लास्ट yesterday जो बजट आई है उसमें एक बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग इसमें उन्होंने अमेंडमेंट किया है, दैट इज़ द होम लोन का जो हम इंटरेस्ट पे करते हैं. अभी तक क्या होता था, जो हम इंटरेस्ट पे करते हैं और जब कैपिटल गेन कैलकुलेट करते हैं अपना, तो कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन में उसी इंटरेस्ट को हम दोबारा ऐड कर देते हैं, बिकॉज अभी तक उसने मना नहीं किया हुआ था. सो 24B हम ये मान के चलते सेपरेटली ऐड कर रहे हैं, एंड 48 में हम कंप्यूटेशन कैलकुलेट करते हैं कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन, तो हम उसमें ऐड कर देते हैं जाके. और इसमें कोई भी अगेंस्ट में जजमेंट नहीं है एक्सेप्ट मद्रास हाई कोर्ट, वन अगेंस्ट जजमेंट. तो हम लोग आराम से इसको ले रहे थे, बट यस्टरडे बजट में इन्होंने ये बोल दिया कि अगर आपने 24B में लिया हुआ देन 45 में आप उसको ऐड नहीं कर
To
सकते.
the extent you have claimed.
Yes, you have claimed.
Yeah, so actually on the side of prudence, that was always the law, because when you cannot tax an income twice, you should not be taking the benefit of allowance twice. But since there was an ambiguity, people were using this as a sort of a double enjoyment. But to the extent that you have claimed, so suppose you pay 3 lakhs every year and you've claimed 2 lakhs every year, so 1 lakh can go forward in the capital gain calculation, but the entire 3 lakhs would not go. Yeah. So that's a very important clarification in this line. So I'm just going to sum up what we've discussed today and add 1 or 2 lines on the insurance and Mediclaim, and I'll be happy if anybody in the panel wants to join. As part of the investment that we all have been doing under ATC, and most of the older generation has been putting money in LIC and Mediclaim and various types of insurances, which were investments plus income tax benefits were coming out of that. Most of these benefits on varied types of investments are now seeing a closure as far as the income tax department is concerned. Especially if we go to the new regime, then in any case we are sort of foregoing almost every single benefit or every single deduction that is allowed to us under all the respective heads of income, whether it is the HRA or it's the standard deduction or whatever. We are sort of agreeing to forego all deductions for the benefit of a lower tax regime, including our investment in
insurance, mediclaim, etc. So there are two perspectives on this, and it'll be nice if we have anybody in the audience also sharing their thought. One is that, as I see it, there was a time when India needed these investments to come forth, where we have never really needed to teach Indians how to save money, but there was a time when there was not sufficient money for people to allocate in insurance. It was not necessarily considered an important investment because we were part of a larger family. There was a family protection, and there was a sort of, if something happened to somebody, it was assumed that the rest of the family will take care of the dependents of that particular person. Slowly and steadily, number one, that entire scenario has changed as far as families are concerned. On the other end, the government also needed the money to put back into infrastructure. So earlier on, these schemes for the last 40, 50 years have been in practice to encourage investment in these fields. But slowly we are seeing the trend of the last 3, 4, 5 years in every budget. We are sort of not getting any encouragement. I won't say we are getting a discouragement yet. It will come to that. But we are not getting any encouragement to go this way. So one thought is that since that is not happening, what will happen to the investment? People will not put money in insurances, people will not put money in mediclaim, and so on and so forth. But I think as most of us sit here, we are now a matured society from that angle, and we understand that putting money in any insurance policy is not about saving taxation. Whether it's mediclaim, whether it's your life insurance, or even your term insurances, I don't think it's about saving taxation. It's about the fact that you are actually investing for a contingency, for some kind of an emergency, at which point of time you may not have enough, or you may not be able to take out what you have instantly. So by and large, my thought process on this is that as far as any deductions are concerned, the government is now discouraging them, bringing the tax regime in a fashion where you will in any case end up paying a lower taxation. Or even if you do an analysis of the old one and the new one, they've not asked you that you cannot choose which one you like. You are open to choose the old or the new regime based on where you have to pay a lesser tax. Because at this point of time, they know that there are people who are heavily invested into these insurances or mediclaims and all, and they are not going away anywhere. So it's like a gentle slide. It's not something that has been put a full stop to. But I think it's up to us, because many of us here would be practitioners also, to encourage our clients to a thought process that these kind of investments are needed for purposes other than income tax also. For example, a lot of people come and tell me that year end aa raha hai, can I buy a car? I'll get depreciation. I said, do you need a car? No. I said, why do you want a car? Because you'll get depreciation, so you're ready to spend money on buying a car, and you are ready to pay interest on that. The thought process is, can I save tax? And so for that, let me buy a car. I don't need that car. So I think there is a time that this is now the time where we need to start thinking a little differently. It will happen over a period of time, but we need to. So with that thought, unless my panel wants to add anything on this point, yeah, would you like to? Yeah, of course, please.
जैसा मैम ने कहा कि गवर्नमेंट की जो पॉलिसी है कि टू डिस्करेज द इन्वेस्टमेंट, कहीं कुछ ऐसा थोड़ा लगता है, लेकिन अगर हम उसके दूसरे बैकड्रॉप में जाएं तो लगता है कि नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है। ऐसा इसलिए मुझे नहीं लगता, ये मेरा पर्सनल व्यू है, ऐसा इसलिए नहीं लगता कि हम इंडियन लोग हैं, रेनी डेज के लिए हमारी बचत करने की शुरू से आदत है। टैक्स का पैसा हम लोग पे करते हैं, लेकिन जैसे LIC की पॉलिसी है, LIC की पॉलिसी अपने आप में रेनी डेज के लिए है, वो फियर साइकोसिस पे ही काम करती है। तो जिसको पॉलिसी लेनी है, टैक्स बचाने के लिए पॉलिसी नहीं लेनी है, हमको पॉलिसी इसलिए लेनी है कि आज मैंने 1 करोड़ या 50 लाख का लोन ले लिया हाउस को परचेज करने के लिए, कल को कुछ हो जाए तो एटलीस्ट मैं ऐसी एक एक्सीडेंटल पॉलिसी ले लूँ कि मेरी नेक्स्ट जो जनरेशन है, बच्चे हैं, उनके ऊपर कोई बर्डन ना पड़े। साथ के साथ पहले जो LIC की पॉलिसी थी, उनमें ATC में डिडक्शन था, अभी ओल्ड पॉलिसी में ओल्ड जो रिजीम है उसमें तो अभी भी परमिटेड है अप टू द एक्सटेंड ऑफ द 1,50,000। और फिर मोदी जी ने कुछ और ऐसा किया है कि हम इंडिविजुअल के बजाय वसुधैव कुटुंबकम की बात हम तो शुरू से करते आए हैं। तो जो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर हम खुद डेवलप करना चाहते थे अपने आप, वो गवर्नमेंट हमारे लिए इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलप कर रही है। क्योंकि अगर इस बजट को देखें, अमृत काल का बजट जो आपके सामने आया है 75 ईयर्स ऑफ इंडिपेंडेंस, इसको आप देखें तो ये इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट बजट है। इसमें कितना पैसा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के लिए लगाया हुआ है। जुडिशरी में भी मतलब जहाँ कोई पूछता नहीं थे वहाँ भी 7,000 करोड़ तो जुडिशरी के लिए दे दिया कि आप अपने कोर्स डेवलप करें। रेलवे में जहाँ 1.5 लाख करोड़ होता था वो 2.5 लाख करोड़ मतलब मोर देन मतलब 50% यानी 40% का एनहेंसमेंट हो गया। इसी तरह सारे और जो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर्स हैं उनके डेवलपमेंट में, हाँ ये बात जरूरी है कि पब्लिक इनडायरेक्टली उसमें होती है कि डिस्करेज होती है कि चलो बेनिफिट के लिए, जैसे डेप्रिसिएशन के लिए कहा, लोग उसको क्लेम करने के लिए करते हैं कि भाई सरकार से फ्री में मिल रहा है तो ले लो जितना मिलता है। बस इसी बात के इन्हीं विचारों के साथ में मैम से कहूँगा कि प्लीज़।
Thank you for your input, Chanji. Does the audience have any observations or questions? Yes, sir.
Okay, again we come back to my typical question, because I am a salaried employee there, and I was previously filing with the exemptions all, the old scheme. So I used to claim every amount of money that is there, whether it be ATC, ATCC, or the insurance one, or taking an HRA. As Madam said, you want to buy a house because save the tax. Because since I was in the highest bracket, I said, why not buy a house then? If I want to save taxes, and that is what my CS told me to do that. I did that. But now when the time has come in to take that exemption, because it was under, the house was making, so I understand when you get the house possession, then only you can claim the amount of exemption HRA, not the HRA, the house league loan thing, right? So I had that 5 years thing that now is the time I'll claim. And since last year what I see now is a new scheme coming in, so which doesn't allow me anything.
No, so new scheme is not mandatory.
Yeah, it's not, I get it, because I get it, I get it.
It's a very simple analysis. When your CA gave you this particular advice, this was the only tax regime that used to be in practice.
Done, ma'am, done. So now, to cut the long story short, what is the idea? Should I go with the new scheme, or should I remain with the old scheme?
This is a completely mathematical calculation, sir. Your CA needs to do a calculation of your income in the old scheme, taking the benefits of all the schemes and all the deductions that are available to you, which is what you would have done if the new scheme had not come in. Because there's not much change in the old scheme. When you had earlier, or your CA had earlier told you to go ahead with whatever schemes you have invested in, whatever were the tax rates at that time, they have not majorly changed. Minor changes here and there may have happened, but they are not majorly different from what they were when you invested. So if you invested with a mindset that this is what you will need to pay every year or save every year, you continue to do that in the old scheme if you opt for it. But now you have the option to do two computations. Make one computation under the old scheme with all the available deductions that are applicable for you, and then one under the new scheme which has no deductions but lower taxes. Please match the figures and see where you end up paying a lesser tax and file that. And the good part about opting in new regime for individuals is that they now don't need to have a lock-in period. Unlike certain other organizations, once we opt for a new regime, there is a lock-in that you can't go back to the old regime till so many years. But for an individual, that's not the case anymore. You can be filing in an old regime today and a new regime tomorrow and an old regime again day after, the next year.
Oh, so okay, you mean to say I can come back anytime to the new?
Yes, you can switch back and forth.
Okay.
So the intention of the legislature, the intention of the government is not to penalize any individual in any manner. It is to actually simplify and streamline things. See, whether it will ultimately go that route and when it will go is a different thing, because we are a huge society. It takes time for us to change also. But idea is very simple. There are people who do not want the complications of 100 things looking up in their computation. I have these 4 sources of income. This is the income tax rate, pay it and close the matter. So for them, there is a new regime, no deductions, lower tax rates, do a calculation. older regime, all deductions available, but the higher tax rates, which used to be prevalent at whatever time the switch happened. Make a calculation, do an analysis of where you save money and decide to go forward.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes.
Ma'am, actually, in post-COVID era, in today's era, almost means अब ऐसा हो गया है कि जो work from home काफ़ी ज़्यादा वो हो गया है कि applicable हो गया है कि whether हम ऑफिस जा रहे हैं नहीं जा रहे हैं लेकिन हमारा घर से भी रेगुलर चल रहा है. मेरा बेसिकली परक्यूजिट पे थोड़ा सा क्वेश्चन है. अगर एम्प्लॉयर कुछ वो दे रहा है, क्या बोलते हैं, असेट्स दे रहे हैं, मीन्स सम इस लैपटॉप, वो फुल्ली हमारा कोई परक्यूजिट नहीं लगेगा, बट सम एसेट्स विच इज हमारे रेजिडेंशियल पर्पज से भी काम आएगा और ऑफिशियल भी, क्योंकि हम लोग घर से भी काम कर रहे हैं. तो वेदर एनी परक्यूजिट एप्लीकेबल या कैसे उसका वो
करता है कि आपका आइटम क्या है.
आई मीन सोफा सेट.
सो मैम, आपका बहुत रेलेवेंट क्वेश्चन है. और कोविड के टाइम पे और अभी भी बहुत सारी कंपनीज ने ऑफिस का जो फर्नीचर या होम फर्नीचर हम उसको बोल सकते हैं कि ये आपको ऑफिस घर का में एक सेटअप बना के दिया कि आप वहाँ से काम कर सकते हैं, लाइक डेस्कटॉप, चेयर्स, सो जो रिक्लाइनर चेयर्स, सो दैट कि आप कंफर्टेबल होकर काम कर सकें. सो दिस इज बीइंग प्रोवाइडेड बाय द कंपनी एंड यू आर यूजिंग फॉर द ऑफिस पर्पस एज वेल एज फॉर योर होम पर्पस ऑल्सो. सो दिस इज बीइंग परक्यूजिट बिकॉज वो कंपनी आपसे वापस नहीं ले रही थी, उसने आपको दे दिया, अब वो वापस नहीं जाएगा आपके पास.
वापस कंपनी नहीं ले रही, लेकिन ये परक्यूजिट के एरा में आएगा.
यस यस, इट इज इन परक्यूजिट 100%.
परक्यूजिट है लेकिन टैक्स नहीं लगेगा क्योंकि आप ऑफिशियल.
वही मेरे ख्याल से डेस्कटॉप वगैरह नहीं है, लेकिन जो चीज
आप अगर कंपनी के प्रेमिसेस में वर्क कर रहे हैं वहाँ भी तो आपको फर्नीचर और सारी चीज प्रोवाइडेड है,
एवरीथिंग रहता है.
और ड्यू टू कोविड दिस पेंडेमिक की वजह से
या कोविड भी छोड़ दे, आज की डेट में आईटीएनसी इतना वो हो गया है कि
just give a simple example. Just let me give a simple example.
100% exempted है सर.
Let me give a simple example. कंपनी के पास एसेट है, आप कंपनी में जाके काम करते हैं, क्या आप उस फर्नीचर को घर लेके आते हैं? नहीं. अभी कंपनी ने आपको फर्नीचर घर पे दिया, क्या कंपनी वो फर्नीचर वापस आपसे ले सकती है? अगर वो वापस लेने वाली है देन तो ये परक्यूजिट नहीं है, लेकिन अगर उसने अपने आपको दे दिया कि आप यूज करो, इट इज नाउ योर्स.
अगर उसको कर लेते हैं बाद में एक सर्टेन.
देखिए, आई टेल यू आजकल कंपनीज क्या कर रहे हैं. आई डोंट नो आपकी कंपनी क्या कर रही है, बट एंड यू करेक्ट मी इफ आई एम रॉन्ग. What's basically happening is that the company is buying that furniture. It's not being bought on your name. It's being bought on the company's name.
Yes, company name.
The company is going to give it to you without any lease so that you can execute your duties on it. Till such time as it remains the asset of the company lying in your premises, it's not a perk.
Okay.
Okay. Then like गाड़ी के लिए करते हैं
buyback.
After 5 years they will offer it to you at a depreciated price.
बिल्कुल.
So उन्होंने 1 लाख रुपए का फर्नीचर खरीदा है, 5 साल में जो भी उनकी depreciation हुई उसकी जो भी वैल्यू बनती है, they'll tell you please buy it. If you buy it, it's okay. If you don't buy it, then they have the option to take it back. In such cases, it will not be considered as a perk. Am I right, or would you like to add?
मैम मेरा
मैं इसमें एक ऐड करूँगा. जैसे हम लोग डायरेक्टर बने बैंक ऑफ महाराष्ट्र, मैं डायरेक्टर बैंक ऑफ महाराष्ट्र बना, तो उन्होंने मुझे एक वो दिया, आईपैड दिया. जब उन्होंने आईपैड कंपनी नाम में था, लेकिन जब मैं रिटायर हुआ उन्होंने क्या किया, उसका एक प्राइस ले लिया 1000 या 2000 रुपये. तो वो परक्यूज में नहीं आया, वो उनकी एसेट थी, उन्होंने हमें बेच दी. तो जनरली ऐसे ही करते हैं. बाकी मेरे ख्याल से अगर आप उसको खुद रखते हैं तो परक्यूज में आ जाएगा.
I think just to add, most of the companies nowadays, what they do, even non-IT companies also, laptops are their major asset.
ये तो exempted है
They
पूरी.
give it to you to use it. After a time, they say, you know, we are upgrading or something, but you still have an option to buy those laptop at a very reasonable price. So these all come under the same category. So if you're buying it or they are taking it back, these won't form part of your purpose.
पढ़ रही थी ना जब क्लोज, तो वहाँ पे मुझे लैपटॉप वगैरह की तो बहुत क्लैरिटी थी, जो कि मतलब होली कि हमारा ऑफिशियली ड्यूटी परफॉर्म करने के लिए, बट सम एक्सटेंट सोफा वगैरह जो कि दोनों पर्पस से
apply only one logic to this, and that logic will work for everything that they give you for work from home. If the asset is in the name of the company has purchased it, it has been given to you on a paper specifying that it is for the work environment purpose till you are with them. Thereafter it goes back to them, or at that time you may get a buyback offer as per the company's policy. Buying offer as per the company's policy, it's not your perk. If however they have given the money to you and told you, okay, you can buy what you like
up to so much of rupees and we'll reimburse you. It's your call. It's very simple. Chaliye, I think with that, we'll close this session. Thank you so much for your patient hearing, and that too at a time where I'm standing between your lunch, sitting. Thank you so much.
थैंक यू बेनी जी. बेनी जी ने बहुत अच्छा इसको प्रिसाइड किया. एक बार मैं चाहूँगा कि आप सभी लोग बेनी जी का स्वागत करें तालियों से, और सभी हमारे स्पीकर का भी करें, क्योंकि सभी ने आपको बहुत अच्छा समझाया है. और मेरे ख्याल से सेशन बड़ा लाइव रहा. जैसे मैंने बेनी जी से पूछा तो बड़ा लाइव सेशन रखा है. और नो डाउट बेनी थापर जी जब भी चेयर करती हैं तो सेशन बड़ा लाइव अपने आप हो जाता है. तो थैंक यू वेरी मच बेनी जी. नाउ जिससे बिफोर लंच मैं 2 मिनट का चाहूँगा समय की जो हमारे स्पीकर हैं उनका हम सम्मान करें. तो मैं चाहूँगा अरुण झा जी हैं, जॉइंट सेक्रेटरी रहे पहले मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ हेल्थ में. मैं चाहूँगा वो बेनी जी को एक मोमेंट देकर स्वागत करें. अरुण झा जी प्लीज. इसके बाद संतोष मंगल जी, विनोद गोयल जी, और लाइका सरकार की मैडम इरेडा से प्लीज. के एस चौहान जी को संतोष मंगल जी. जी आप मीनू अग्रवाल जी आप आइए. मीनू अग्रवाल जी. और सिन्हा जी के लिए विनोद गोयल जी. और ग्रुप फोटो के लिए हम सब लोग एक साथ. लंच बगल वाले हॉल में लंच है एल और में. आप सभी को आमंत्रित करते हैं कि आप लंच में जुड़ेंगे. और इसके आप हाफ एन आवर वी विल असेंबल फॉर थर्ड सेशन अराउंड 2:40 प्लीज. थैंक यू.